Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Unit 4, which is the political unit, and this is done by Christine, Julie, Choi, and Rack. First, we'll be talking about what a nation is. A nation is a stable community of people formed on the basis of a common language, territory, history, or ethnicity, which is manifested in a common culture. Now, a nation state is the same as a nation, but it is culturally homogeneous, like, for example, South Korea. A multinational state is a state that is occupied by multiple ethnic groups, for example, the US. Next, a semi-autonomous region is a region that can govern itself within a larger region and have limited autonomy, like the Native Americans. Next, we'll be talking about colonialism. Colonialism is an attempt by one country to establish settlements and to impose its political, economic, and cultural principles in another territory. It is a type of imperialism. Colonialism actually has a profound impact on the world today. An example of colonial powers is Great Britain, Spain, Portugal, and France. The main example I will be using for colonialism is Africa. Africa near perfectly exemplifies the impact of colonialism, as much of the existing conflict in Africa is a result of the superimposed boundaries laid by the colonizing European powers. Next, we will be talking about imperialism. Imperialism is the policy of extending the rule or authority of an empire or nation over foreign countries, most likely underdeveloped ones. One big example of imperialism is the US annexation of Hawaii. When Hawaii was added into the US got total control over their land, resources, and etc. The next topic we'll be talking about is devolution. Devolution is the movement of power from the central government to regional governments within the state, or a breakup of a large state into several independent ones, like this chocolate bar. A real-life example of devolution is the Sikh split in India, and this was caused by the separation of beliefs, so they separated into two regions. Next topic we will be talking about is neocolonialism. Neocolonialism is the use of economic, political, cultural, or other type of pressures to control or influence other countries, especially former dependencies, like the Minions and Gru. A prime example of neocolonialism is US and Africa. Because Africa is one of the less developed countries, US can provide them with economic aid, but with the aid follows the control that US has over Africa now, with their resources, their lands, and stuff like that. Next, we will be talking about choke points. Choke points are strategic, narrow waterways between two larger bodies of water. The Suez Canal is an example of a choke point. It connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. There's Rakin. Next, we will be talking about a relic boundary. A relic boundary is a former boundary line that is still discernible and marked by some cultural landscape features. It no longer exists, but the impact is still felt great. The Great Wall of China is an example of a relic boundary. Next, we will be talking about superimposed boundaries. A superimposed boundary is a boundary line placed over an end, ignoring an existing cultural pattern. Africa is a good example because during colonialism, people were separated into current regions of Africa. Next, we will be talking about subsequent boundaries. A subsequent boundary is a boundary line that is established after the area in question has been settled and considers the cultural characteristics of the bounded area. It evolves as the cultural landscape takes place. Sudan, once the most largest and one of the most geographically diverse states in Africa, split into two countries. Next, we will be talking about consequent boundaries. A consequent boundary is a boundary line that coincides with some cultural divide, such as religion or language. They are usually drawn to accommodate existing religious, linguistic, ethnic, or economic differences between countries. An example of this is Great Britain partitioning India and Pakistan to create different spheres for Hindus and Muslims. Next, we will be talking about antecedent boundaries. They are boundaries drawn before a large population was even present. An example of this type of boundary is the 49th parallel between the United States and Canada. It was drawn way before the country began to be settled. Finally, we have geometric boundaries. These are political boundaries that are defined and delimited by straight lines. An example of this boundary line is the one between Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. This boundary is a vertical line drawn in the middle of the island, regardless of the physical and cultural landscape. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry I sound so tired. It's really late.